Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet a power couple. It's a husband and wife team that is bringing real estate investment opportunities to the masses. Their journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, historically, some of the wealthiest people on the planet have made their money in real estate. We all think of the great Jerry Jones and we think of the Cowboys, but he owns a bunch of land in the Frisco area that's made him a lot of money over the years. To talk about that today, a husband and wife power team, Mary and Richard Amoedo, is in the studio. And thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Happy to be here.
All right, why don't we start with you, Mary? So real estate investing, this has been kind of in your DNA for a long time?
I wouldn't say a long time, but it definitely has been a desire of mine to be able to help people learn what took us over 20 years and a whole lot of money to learn. I think it's a very basic understanding that I think all people should have in their toolbox.
Yes, and Richard, you both have been very successful in this arena for a long time. About a year ago, you decided, let's open this up to the public.
Yeah, with having 2 real estate funds before in the past, one of the things that we were not able to do is work with everyday people, people that were not high net worth. All the other previous funds required high net worth because legally that's the way they could enter. So when we were looking at this, it was like, how do we make this available to all walks of life, no matter what your age is, no matter what your income bracket is. And I believe that we put together a really solid system to allow people to get started with the smallest level of investment, numbers that they could start with, and no experience, right? Getting into a community that, meets you where you're at versus expecting you to already be at a certain level.
Sure. We're going to pull up the website, and it's investornextdoorclub.com. What does a typical investor look like? It could be, your neighbor.
A typical investor looks like you. It looks like someone who wants to get ahead financially. It doesn't matter their age or their income level. It is somebody who knows they were made for more. There's got to be more. Because one of the things that we say in our community is, it's not about making more money, though people think that that's really what they need to do to be able to get into the real estate game. That's not it. What really is the solution for people's financial struggles is that they need to understand that money is a game and that there are rules to the game of money. And there are strategies that you can implement to really win the game. And one of the strategies that we teach is real estate investing, along with tax strategies and basic personal finance strategies. So there's a lot of things that most people, I didn't grow up learning that, Richard didn't grow up learning that most people never learned growing up. And it really is kind of you learn from the school of hard knocks. And that's what we spent the last 20 years doing. And we thought there's got to be a better way. Like, people need this information, and they shouldn't have to spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn this basic information.
And Richard, this is different than crowdfunding. You actually own a piece of the property for as little as $3,000.
Yeah, that would be the minimum that people could enter in at on the investment clubs. And it's different. You become an owner. You're not just an investor. Owners have voting rights. Owners have, real ability to help shape the direction of that. And when you're in a crowd fund, when you're in a fund, you're not. You're just a passive investor. Even though our owners will not be swinging hammers and having to go walk the streets to check out the properties, they do get to look at everything under the hood to make sure they're comfortable with everything.
And let's drill down a little deeper on that, because there's a lot of people who will invest in a small apartment complex, but then they got to figure out how to run the thing, and what happens when the plumbing goes out at 2 a.m. So
let me tell you a story. So we had a real estate agent that we'd known just kind of as acquaintances, and he had reached out to me because of what we do. And he said, I have a client that wants to buy a multifamily property. I'm like, that's great. And he says he's got about $300,000 that he can put down and do some rehab. So we're talking about a small property. And I said, great. Does he have any experience? He goes, none. I said, great. Do you have any experience helping him navigate that? No. I said, you need to get some education, because people typically make money on the purchase. And if they're not savvy or they don't have the knowledge, they could potentially put themselves in a very expensive and dangerous financial position.
yes. And Richard, you made the point before the show that historically real estate has been a very sound investment.
Sure. I mean, historically, it's going to, increase in value every 15, double in value every 15 years. Sometimes it's less, could be 7, could be 8. Every asset class, every market's going to have dips and churns and this, that, and the other, but real estate doesn't go to zero. The stock market can go to zero, or a stock can go to zero. Crypto can go to zero. So it's considered to be a stable place to park money, let it grow, generate cash flow, get access to, tax depreciation and so forth. Unlike other asset classes, that's what gives you access to the rest of the tax code that most people aren't getting.
Well, and I urge my audience to visit their different social media platforms, because they create a lot of free content. I found one that I really like. Mary, you did this. Let's go ahead and roll that video.
All right, guys, it's Mindset Monday, and the very first thing you want to think about is the compound effect. You see, most people overestimate what they can do in a day, but they underestimate what they can do in a year or even 5 years. You see, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. How many times have we done a to-do list of a day and you've never gotten it done, but you think you're going to get it done the next day and it just doesn't happen? But also, how many times do you not ever even get started investing because you think you don't have enough? Well, if you would just start small and be consistent and have discipline, that consistency and discipline over time has a snowball effect. And over a year or 5 years or 10 years, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish.
Outstanding. Let's talk about the due diligence that you guys put in on the front side to make sure that your club members are happy.
Sure. My background, so we were in the mortgage industry for a number of years, had 4 offices in 4 states, trained a lot of loan officers. So my background really was in underwriting. And then doing everything that needed to be done to make sure that those asset values were what they were, right? And then I started my first fund catering to real estate investors. And so it was always the backbone is, what is the value of it right now? So if we can't figure out what the value is, it doesn't really matter, right? Because we want to know money's made on the front end. Sure. Yes, we're going to make cash flow along the way and have appreciation, but we want to make sure that the front end is secure. So we focus on that, and we would, we give them that information so they can look at those things. We give them the business plan so they understand, what's going to happen in 90 days, 180 days, 3 years, however long we're holding that property. But the whole focus is making sure that, we've assessed a good value. We've assessed any deferred maintenance. We've looked at what the improvements are going to be, what operators we're also working with to partner with, and we cover all those bases.
And people can make money during good times and bad. Is this a good time to get involved?
Absolutely. We focus on what's known as B and C class type properties in various types of commercial. So those are the properties that it doesn't matter what the economy is doing. People need a place to live. Contractors need a place to operate their businesses. So we just make sure that we stay in the middle versus going luxury and high end, which that can have a lot of peaks and valleys in it.
The good thing about what we do, Jeff, inside of our investment clubs is that people aren't having to start and invest by themselves. They don't have to figure it out. So In the investment club, each person who belongs in one of those clubs actually gets to vote on which properties the club purchases as a pooled group of investors. And so we've already done our due diligence in what properties we present to the club. So they're not out there in the wild, wild west of real estate trying to figure out which property is a good property, which is a bad property, which is what we've seen in the past when people purchase these high ticket programs thinking they're going to finally invest in real estate, and then they get out there and there's like this just a monster of how many properties to look at, and trying to sift through all these properties, figuring out what's good, what's bad, and between what's good and what's bad, figuring out what's good and what's great. And they just don't really know because they don't have the experience. Well, in our investment clubs, we've already sifted through all those properties. We pick only the ones that we think are viable for our club. And then all the members that are in the club, we're teaching them. We're teaching them through our Inc. Academy how to decipher, how to underwrite, how to pick a good investment versus a bad investment. And then from that, we've already set them up to actually win. So collectively as a group, everybody gets a vote in which property gets purchased, so they get a say-so. They start to really have hands-on experience without all the responsibility of having to pick the right property, because that's daunting.
And you made a video not too long ago about real estate scams, and there's a lot of them out there. And so if you're a newbie, you really don't want to be going out on your own and hoping that this is a legit deal.
There's not just real estate scams out there, Jeff. There's so many scams happening, and what we find is people are really desperate to get ahead. They want to get ahead. We're in some really trying times. And every scam sounds great. Every scam sounds legitimate. And one of the things that we teach ongoingly as a consistent round robin is how to spot a financial scam, because the scammers get more and more creative. They get more and more manipulative. They get more savvy on what they need to say and what they need to hide. And so we teach our community how to spot a red flag. And just because they have a red flag doesn't mean it's a scam, but it's good for you to know what questions to ask to protect yourself, and to also know when somebody that you love might possibly get involved in a scam. Because I've had a lot of people in my life who've presented me with things, and I go back, I already know it's a scam, and I say, listen, you need to go back and ask these questions. And it's the questions that you don't ask that can really get you in financial trouble.
We have about 2 minutes left, so I want you both to give final thoughts. We'll start with you, Richard, and Mary will bring it home.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of great programs that are out there. I think there's a lot of expensive programs that are out there. One of the things that we wanted to try to do was make sure that no matter where you're starting from, you could start from nothing, right? Whether it's a small investment, or the other situation is if you don't have money to start investing, if you don't have money to afford expensive programs, then you got to look at, well, people are living paycheck to paycheck. Where do they go? Well, getting into a financial community like this is what opens that gateway, that door where they can start to learn, start getting their debt in order, and getting themselves in a position to where they can start. So if you're not ready to start, we help you get ready, then you'll be able to start down the road. Mary?
Yeah, one of the greatest things about Investor Next Door Club really is our community. I tell people that when you're in the right community, what's possible for you expands exponentially. When I was in my young 20s, I was not in a good place. I had gotten pregnant out of wedlock. I was married to a man that ended up being a drug addict. I was depressed and suicidal, and somewhere by the grace of God, I got involved in a personal growth and development community. And in the span of 1 year, I went from dropping out of college and struggling, not being depressed and suicidal, to becoming a leader in my own right, graduating with my engineering degree, finishing 22 credit hours my last semester, speaking at commencement, and really becoming somebody I didn't know possible because of the community. Now, this is a different kind of community, but I know our community is going to speak life into you, and the community is going to have you believe in something that's possible that you didn't think possible before. And that's the beauty of being around the right people with the right vision, because it's going to expand your vision. It's going to expand what you see as possible, and it's going to expand what you reach for.
Outstanding. Great way to bring it home. We're going to end with the website, which is investornextdoorclub.com. Richard and Mary, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.